why not? You're here.
Yeah. Okay. Good morning, gentlemen. Nice to see everyone again. We were talking about Hilchos Shabbos on our several-year journey, Be'ez Hashem, through Hilchos Shabbos. We'll take some time, but we'll all be together, Be'ez Hashem, for a long time, so we'll do it. We were in the middle of... Hello.
Je bent groot.
Thank you.
Oh, wacht.
I'll talk.
No, I can't. It's gewoon een verschil. Yeah? Okay. You don't know where? Oh, you know that? Oh yeah, you're here. You're working here.
Jij wil geen koffie, maar wij willen wel hier thee, Bas.
Ja, dat is het ook. Nou, als je daar alleen maar speciaal voor komt, dat vind ik geen compliment voor de heren die je sjoer geven.
Wel voor de dames die koffie maken.
Oké, dat is het anders. Hier is nog koek.
You want coffee?
Ja.
Thank you, yes. I only drink milk from Jewish cows.
This for you.
Okay, where's a couple? We make sure that where's a couple.
Goedemorgen.
Heb je geen kopjes genoeg?
Nee.
Nou, dan haal ik nog. Wat drink jij? Thee. Je hebt nog een glas thee. Dus servetjes zijn er ook nog. Hier zijn servetjes voor de achterkant. Voor de koek.
Het is schwer aan je te zijn.
Voor de koek.
Right.
Right.
When we're all ready,
Yes.
we were talking in the last couple of sessions about...
Yeah.
It's good? Everyone's good, yeah?
Yeah.
We were talking in the last couple of sessions about the laws of the Meleches Dosh, which we said meant threshing. Thank you very much. Threshing, breaking the outer shell to get the kernels inside. You remember we were talking about that. We spoke about the classic dosh, which of course is when in the field or somewhere they would, after they'd cut down the wheat, they'd harvested the wheat, they would break the outer shell to get the grain out, and then the grain would go further for processing. They would smash it, bash it, and they would make bread. We then went on to talk about, can you all hear me? Everyone can hear me down there? Yeah, it's good. We then went on to talk about the tolda, which is like a second generation form of dosh. Doesn't mean, of course, it's min Torah, it's forbidden by Torah law, but it's sort of a subsidiary category of dosh, which is squeezing fruits. And we spoke about different kinds of fruits. We said that min Torah, according to Torah law, there are only two fruits that if one squeezes those fruits for their liquid, one would have done the law, the Issa, the transgression of dosh, of threshing min Torah. And those were grapes and olives. And all other fruits, we said, perhaps on midrabanon and sometimes mutar. And I'll recap very shortly in a minute. But let's get the differentiation clear.
Uitpersen
From the drova.
Van de druiven.
Drova, that's a doraisa. If you get als je een drova name en je gepressed.
Druivenpers.
Dat is de melacha, de echte melacha.
De echte melacha van de
doraisa. Exactly. How was my Dutch? Good.
En al die andere melachot.
Doraita is goed Dutch. Doraita is goed Dutch.
All the other melachot are the rabbanan.
No.
Not the rabbanan.
There's 39 categories
Yes.
of forbidden law and forbidden activities on Shabbos. But in each category, 39 different categories, all the different melachot of Shabbos. One of the 9 we're discussing is dosh, is pressing, is not pressing, is extracting one thing from another in a natural entity, something that grows from the ground, organic entity. Within each melacha of the 39 melachas, we have ways in which you can do the melacha min ha-Torah. In other words, the way in which the Torah is concerned, this is the primary example of a melacha. And then there's subsidiary levels that the Chazal, that the rabbis of the Talmud said, this is close, it looks close, it's similar in nature to the melacha, and therefore it's also forbidden midrabanan, by rabbinical law.
Pressing, for instance, an orange. You want to some orange juice.
We'll never talk about
What is allowed then?
Yeah, it comes.
For immediate drinking.
Het komt. I'm going to say. In all I've said so far is that although dosh primarily, classically, is in our mind refers to the wheat, the chran, and taking it out, but we also have been taught by our tradition that dosh includes min ha-Torah, the category, the melacha of dosh also includes squeezing fruits, but not all fruits. When you squeeze those fruits, are you transgressing the melacha, the prohibition of dosh, of threshing? Only grapes and olives are forbidden to press min ha-Torah. Why? Why only grapes and olives? So we established last time very briefly that only a fruit where the liquid is considered so important that it's as if the liquid is an independent entity within the fruit. I'm going to explain. Let's think about the grain, the grain of wheat. When you extract the grain of wheat from the shell, what you're doing is you're removing the edible, the grain, from the inedible, from the shell. And so you've done a very high-level creative activity. All melachot on Shabbos are concerned primarily with some form of creative activity, something, a change, something special, something that kind of transforms the item into something else. If I take this cup and I put it over here, I've done nothing transformative. I haven't transformed anything. All melachas are in some form, in some way, theoretically transformative. When I take the grain out of the shell, I had until now 2 things: an inedible casing, a casing that can't be eaten, and an edible product inside. And now, by releasing the edible product from the inedible casing, I've enabled myself to use the edible for further processing. In other words, for grinding, then for baking, for kneading, and then for baking into bread. So I've done something transformative. Previously, we had one thing that consists of inedible casing and edible food inside. The casing is not edible, the food is edible, or the casing is less edible or less wanted or less desired, and the food is desired, the grain is desired. And now I've got 2 entities. And that's a classic way of looking at a melacha, how the melacha theoretically takes place. It takes place by extracting the edible from the inedible, the positive from the negative, the wanted from the unwanted. There's always some kind of theoretical way in which we can understand the transformation that takes place. Now, when I have a fruit, let's talk about an orange, and then we'll go back to grapes and olives. An orange is, you would say, entirely edible. Forget the peel. We're not talking about the extraction of the fruit from the peel. We're talking about the extraction of the liquid from the fruit. The entire orange is edible, correct?
Yes.
The liquid is edible, the fruit is edible. If I extract the liquid from the fruit, I've not transformed something. It's almost as if, conceptually, think about it in a conceptual form, I've just cut the orange. I've taken one part of orange from a different part of orange. I've taken one edible substance, the liquid, from a different edible substance, the fruit. If I take an orange and I cut it in half, I've not transformed the orange. I've not extracted something beneficial, something positive, something edible from something inedible. No, I've just cut it in half. That's not a melacha. To cut fruit in half is not a malacha. You've not done something transformative. You just made it more accessible, perhaps. It's not a malacha to cut a fruit in half. You can't eat what? The fruit.
You can't eat anything if you cut it in half.
Why
You
not?
still have the peel around.
Yeah, you could eat it from the peel. Yeah, so I say leaving aside the peel, to take off the peel might be theoretically related to the laws we're talking about. Maybe. Don't worry, you can take the peel off. But in theory, the peel would be a question. The removal of the fruit from the peel, that theoretically could fit with the laws of Dosh that we've been speaking about. Okay, we can discuss that another time. But the removal of the liquid from the fruit is nothing. The liquid is a part of the fruit. It's an intrinsic part of the fruit. The liquid is edible. The fruit is edible. Why should it be forbidden? Why should it be comparable to Dosh? How can we compare such a thing to Dosh when in Dosh you remove an edible from an inedible, and in squeezing fruits you don't remove an edible from an inedible? So it comes out that oranges should be okay to squeeze, or at least not forbidden by Torah law, because it's not Dosh. It's not comparable to the original malacha, the original concept of the malacha. But our rabbis taught us.
Always nuts.
There's always a but. Yeah, with grapes and olives, our rabbis said it's different. Why? Our rabbis suggested, based on the tradition that we received from Moshe, that because the liquid that comes out of a grape and the liquid that comes out of an olive is so distinguished, is so important, that the Torah defines certain rules, laws in other areas of halakha, laws of tumah, for example, of items becoming susceptible to impurity. The law is that an item can only become susceptible, a food can only become susceptible, it can only become possible to become impure, spiritually impure, when an impure person would touch it, which is not relevant today, it's relevant in times of the temple, when we have a temple, Bezrat Hashem. An item can only become impure if one of 7 liquids first touch the item, a food item, only a food item. And not every liquid counts. The Torah says only 7 specific liquids, and of those 7, the only 2 that come out of food, a fruit, is oil, shemen, which comes, of course, from the olive, and wine, yayin, or grape juice, which comes from a grape. So the Torah elevates the status of those 2 liquids and makes them extremely important liquids. More than that is that even when we look at the way human beings use these 2 foods, olives and grapes, they are harvested, or at least they used to be, and maybe still today, in huge amounts for the liquid that's contained within, not for the food itself. In other words, the liquid is so important, the liquid of the olive and the liquid of the grape is so important that the liquid has an elevated status. Now, based on the fact that the liquid has an elevated status, we can now look at it slightly differently. We can say that the liquid is so important that relative to the fruit is as if it's inedible, and the liquid is considered the edible. In other words, we're always trying to get back to see if it can fit with the classic idea of dosh, which we said before is the extraction of an edible item from its inedible casing. And then it's conceptually dosh. Otherwise, we say, no, that's not dosh. It's just like splitting food in half. The grape and the olive, the liquids inside are so important, they're so distinguished by human beings, by the Torah, in every sense, that when you extract the liquid of the grape from the grape, it's as if the Torah looks at it in the same way as if you're removing something edible from something inedible. Now, even though the grape is edible and the olive is edible, but relative to the power, the importance of the liquid inside, they shrink to being seen as inedible, if you understand. Conceptually, it becomes as if the liquid is so important, it outshines the solid, and the solid mass around it is just like a casing for this gold that's contained inside the oil or the wine. It's as if, imagine I had, for an example, imagine I took a diamond and I wrapped the diamond, forget dosh, I'm just giving an example to make it sort of more practical what we're saying. Imagine I had a diamond and I wrapped the diamond in a piece of dough and I baked it. So and I give you a present. So you wouldn't say, when I remove the diamond from the dough, I'm removing one useful thing from another useful thing. You would say, no, he's baked it in a dough for some silly reason or whatever, wherever he did it. And it's just some kind of casing to protect the diamond. Maybe if I was a smuggler, maybe that's a good example. If I was a smuggler and I wanted to smuggle goods, so I'd bake a challah and I'd put diamonds inside. You know, I think that's maybe a way in which such a silly example could actually happen. And then you'd say the challah, the bread, is completely unimportant. It's the diamond inside that's important, even though the challah is edible. So when you have something of significance, of importance, wrapped in something that's much less significant, then we look at it as if it's an edible item inside the inedible. And when you extract the juice from the grape or the juice from the olive, it's like you're extracting edible from inedible. That's how we look. That's how we look at it. With all other fruits, it's not the same. With all other fruits, the liquid is important. Certainly the liquid, in many cases, is very, very useful. The liquid of the orange is used in bulk. Oranges around the world are grown and harvested for the liquid inside, for sure. But still, the liquid isn't of the same level of importance as the Torah defines. The Torah assigns the importance to the grape and the olive, and therefore the extraction of liquid in all other fruits will not be forbidden b'nat Torah. Only the extraction of liquid from the grape and the olive, no other fruit.
You don't make difference between two types of oranges.
No, but midrabanon, as I'm about to midrabanon, by rabbinical law, the rabbis always looked at certain actions and they said this is comparable to the Torah action, even if it's not forbidden minat Torah, but it's not minat Torah, it's midrabanon. And in the case of oranges, for example, the rabbi said any fruit that's very commonly grown and harvested for its liquid is also forbidden rabbinically. So lower down.
Also for immediate use?
For squeeze, also for immediate use. To squeeze the liquid is also forbidden, but rabbinically. So minat Torah, only grapes and olives, and nothing we can do can change that. Minat Torah, it's only the grape and olive, because only their liquids are seen by Torah law as being very significant, important liquids. Midrabanon, but rabbinically, all fruits that are commonly grown and harvested for their liquid are forbidden to squeeze, midrabanon, for the liquid. To squeeze for the liquid. Yeah, in other words, for the use of the liquid. Any other fruit or vegetable, I'll come to Bas, any other fruit or vegetable that's not commonly squeezed at all, like a plum, for example, you know, a plum, prawn, yeah, and you were to just, it's a bit soft and you squeeze it, and it's not common, that's permitted. It's not even forbidden rabbinically. So there's things that are forbidden by Torah law, grapes and olives. All fruits that are harvested normally harvested for the liquid is forbidden rabbinically, like oranges, for example, or lemons, etc. And the third section is things that aren't commonly squeezed at all. And if one wanted to squeeze one of those fruits, one would be allowed to squeeze it for the liquid inside. Yeah.
I just want to know, is an etrog, is that considered as a fruit or not? Because
it doesn't really matter if it's a fruit or vegetable, even a vegetable, technically speaking. Yeah, but most vegetables aren't squeezed.
Yeah, you can't put a school for.
Yeah, but an
I mean, is it considered as a fruit because it's in holy state in a way if you use it? So you don't consider that.
There's only one big holy.
The only what in the laws of, see, we society define names to different species, different genuses. Yeah, I don't know how the genii.
Yeah.
Is that the scientific word? You're a doctor, no? Genii, yeah. So we say there's fruit. We assign certain organic products are called fruit, vruchten, and certain organic products are groente, or vegetables. The Torah also, halacha also differentiates between fruit and vegetables for the bracha. For a fruit, we make ha'etz, and for a vegetable, we make ha'adama. But the difference is that our way of defining the categories and the scientific way are slightly different. But even if I'm not mistaken, scientifically, we human beings, we society make lots of mistakes. So if I'm not mistaken, tomatoes are generally considered to be fruit.
Tomatoes are
Right. But forget even, you're right. But even when people go shopping for tomatoes, they don't look in the fruit section, they look in the vegetable section. And when you look on the screen in the Jumbo, in Albert Heijn, whatever, and you select, the product, so there's the Vruchten category to find it, and then there's the
For the weegschaal.
groenten, for the to weigh it, for the weegschaal, and then you won't look for tomatoes. Which section are you going to look in? Where do you look when you want to find a tomato?
No, what I want to look at is the plant.
But where do the jumbos?
Only one here.
Je
And
moet ze
then
afwegen.
Where do they find? Good, you're right. Where do the Jumbo put it in the Jumbo put tomatoes in the vruchten or in the groenten?
Je hebt een weegschaal met twee soorten. Je hebt vruchten of groenten. En je moet kijken waar die onder staat.
Which one is it in?
Vegetables.
It's in the vegetable, but it's not a vegetable. Not according to scientific categorization. In science, it's considered a fruit. Am I correct?
No, but it's a scientific definition.
It's a definition, right? But then there's the human way of speaking, and we don't. In other words, all I'm just trying to say is that human beings have one way of defining things. Science has another way of defining things in a more accurate way, or just definitions in a more to be specific about things. To find links between various organic products and say this is similar to this and this is similar to that. And we in Halacha have a different way of defining it. So you're right. We in Halacha, we do say it's ha'adama.
Yes.
We say it's a vegetable, but we don't use words like vegetables and fruit in ha'adama. We say ha'etz, which is a tree. We don't say fruit. We say pri ha'etz, which is the fruit of the tree. And so really we need to define what the Torah considers a tree, not what the Torah considers a fruit, what the Torah considers a tree. It seems similar to us because we assume normally, naively, that all fruit grows on trees, but a tree and ha'adama is a ground product.
Yes.
Tomato is a plant.
A tomato is a plant. So for us, tomato grows on a vine, which is from the ground, which is actually ha'adama, but in science, it's actually a fruit.
And bananas.
Because the scientific
grows
definition is based on the way in which the where the fruit does the fruit form. And I once researched this when I was learning Hilchos Brochos, whether the fruit comes out of the bud, out of the flower, or whether the fruit grows separately to the flower on the plant. And if it grows out of the flower, there's the flowering part of a plant, like an apple. First there's a sprout, and then there's a bud, and then a little flower develops, and then an apple grows from within the flower, and eventually the flower is not significant at all, and the apple is much bigger. And if I'm not mistaken, scientifically, we categorize fruits as something that grows out of the flowering part of the plant, and vegetables are something that grows not out of the flowering part of a plant. That's just a little bit of science for this morning. Anyway, am I right? If someone knows better than me, then say, Rabbi, you might know a bit of Hilchos Shabbos. You know what you're talking about.
I looked for pistache.
Pistache.
And I looked at the telephone pistache, and it grows on struiken. So you have to say, boerderij prepareert. Die struiken, die zijn meerjarig. I said prepareert.
Right, let's get back to this. Now, the esrog. So the esrog is ha'etz, but it's a fruit technically. Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
Ja, sommige bessen. Bessen.
als je eten.
En te ruiken, hè? Ook.
Yeah, it's not nice.
Alleen de schil is lekker.
Bosbessen.
Yeah, you're right. People make jam. They make jam. That is sucada.
Sucade is the peel of the
esrog.
of the apple.
They use that to make for the jam in the peel. They make jam with the peels, not for the actual pulp, not for the fruit inside. No.
Sugar.
The peel is the one that. So when they make esrog jam, they don't use the inside; they use the outside.
Yeah.
Like orange peels are very nice in jam.
How you make your esrog liquor?
Yeah, I don't make anything with it.
Okay.
I saw my esrog yesterday. Yesterday I was looking through my house and I found my esrog and it's gone this big. It's fantastic.
I use it for liquor.
A liquor.
Yeah, liquor.
You distill it. How do you boil it up and then distill it?
No, I just peel it. Only the colored part, not
Right.
the white. The white is very bitter.
It's very thin, the coloured part. It's not thick.
It's very thin. So I take a dun schiller. How you say that?
A pula.
Yeah. I put it into vodka or Genever or whatever, and that's it.
And it gives a nice taste.
And a bit of sugar, and I leave it for a half a year.
And it really gives off a good citron taste.
And color.
Oh, wow.
We use the etrog.
And by the way, you
Ja.
use it
Dit al.
to eat
Die dingen
on
vallen
Toebesh
er
Vat.
uit.
Nee.
Yeah. Something, yeah. The Ben Ish Chai
I
says.
don't- Maybe that's only Sephardi, but I don't know.
The Ben Ish Chai says on Tu B'Shvat, you pray for next year's etrog on Tu B'Shvat. You pray for that you have a good, because today we're
No,
fortunate.
You see it in the Oshat.
They
You
sell
see
it.
it.
Yeah.
You see the etrog for how is it? Sugar for especially during the time of Shavuot. For Tu B'Shvat.
Wil je? Oshat?
Yeah. Oshat is goedkoop.
Ja. Ik weet wel wie Oshat is.
Nou, ik ga er nooit winkelen, maar dat is een kring.
Dat is wat anders. Ik wel.
Nee, we zetten alleen maar hele grote verpakkingen. Ik bedoel, de macro is te klein.
Ja.
Some berries is often complicated on which it falls.
Some berries are Adama, some berries are AIDS. Yeah. Strawberries
What
are
about
Adama, raspberries are AIDS.
Sunflower seed. You don't eat it regularly. You only make oil of it.
In Israel, they eat sunflower seeds
I
excessively.
know. And birds eat them as well. But,
Yeah.
in general, people don't eat it. Not that.
I thought you were going to say normal people. The Israelis, yeah.
Okay, regular people.
Yeah. Regular Europeans. Regular Israelis all eat it.
Yeah.
No, it's hot eight. It doesn't really matter how much it's eaten or not, unless it's inedible. This whether you eat something or not is not relevant to the bracha. It's only relevant. We were talking about just now is squeezing the fruit.
Yeah.
Then we said there's a distinction between whether the fruit is normally squeezed or not, to whether it's minatorah,
It's normally squeezed.
Yeah, but that's right. But there's sunflower that, in terms of the bracha on the seed, is completely different rules. The Hilchos brachas are different.
Yeah,
Every
different.
halacha has its
But
rules.
the sunflower seeds are primarily only used for oil.
Yeah. And then see, but you were saying are you asking if on Shabbos you would squeeze it, would it be forbidden by Torah law? The thing is, I don't know.
Because you can squeeze it with
A masher. Yeah, you could. Yeah, and something would come out. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you use that for your excellent.
Right. I'm not sure. No, if something is in a significant amount of the produce is grown for squeezing, then indeed to squeeze.
Mainly.
And it would be rabbinic. Then it would be forbidden midrabon. It wouldn't be minatorah either way, because minatorah only have grapes and olive. It would be forbidden midrabon, absolutely. Yeah. I don't know if bashing the sunflower seeds would be a problem of dosh. I think it would be a problem more of toichan, because you're actually crushing. In other words, does the oil come? The oil, you don't squeeze the oil out of the seed. You smash the seed, and the oil is extracted. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But either way, it would be forbidden rabbinically. Yes.
Like to squeeze lemon, it's not allowed to do it in tea.
No, you squeeze, but not to slice it.
On the food, I'm going to talk about that today.
Not to slice it, not to slice apart, but you can
Onto the fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the difference?
No.
What is the difference?
That
You
is
put
the
the slice in your tea or
on the fish. And it's absorbed, so it's allowed. But why?
That is the very next thing we're going to talk about, starting from now.
Okay.
Let's go.
Heren,
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So we've described the three categories of fruits. Category one, grapes and olives, which you can't squeeze minatorah because the liquid is important. Category two, many fruits that are harvested, fruits, vegetables, for their liquid, is forbidden midrabanon. Category three are things that aren't normally squeezed, only not at all forbidden, permitted to squeeze. Now, there is another, even though we just said that an orange, let's leave aside grapes and olives for a minute. We said that an orange cannot be squeezed. The halacha brings an exception to when you can squeeze fruits. And I remind you, don't think of grapes and olives for now. Grapes and olives is a big machlokas in the Rishonim. If this rule, this exception I'm going to tell you now applies with grapes and olives. So ignore grapes and olives. But all other fruits, oranges, lemons, things that are normally squeezed but would be forbidden only midrabanan. The halacha says that the following expression, mashke haba le'oichel, liquid that comes into food, ka'oichel domi, has the status of food. Liquid that comes into food has the status of food, not of liquid. That means like this. There was a transition between. That means like this. And it was very important, the introduction I gave today, to talk about this theoretical dosh of extracting something beneficial or something edible from something inedible is very, very important. I deliberately made big point of this introduction. Because the melacha of dosh is, in some form, has to be connected to the idea of taking something beneficial from something less beneficial, or something edible from something inedible. And to the extent that we said that the grapes and olives, it's very edible, and it's almost as if the grape is inedible, as if. And with the orange, not as much, but still to a lesser extent, because the liquid of the orange is so commonly used to be squeezed, or the liquid of the lemon, then it's as if you take something, as if, again, rabbinically, it looks like you're taking something edible from something that's less edible, even though it's edible, it's certainly edible, but in proportion, in significance, the liquid is more significant than the thing that was encasing it. So, Chazal told us that that's only true when you want the liquid to be as a liquid. But if, imagine I take an orange and I cut a piece of orange and I put the orange in my food, then you would say, of course, based on what we've said until now, that's not extracting one thing, something good or something better from something less good. That's just cutting two pieces off, cutting one thing from another. And that's fine, that's no problem. When we take the liquid of an orange, and instead of squeezing it to be a liquid, we squeeze it into food, immediately into food, with no in-between stage. There's nothing in between. It doesn't go into a cup and then into food. It goes into food. The halacha looks at it as if you've simply taken part of the orange and put it somewhere else. Because the reason why the halacha said it's forbidden to extract the juice from the orange is only because the juice, in proportion, in distinction, in relationship to the orange, is more significant. Previously, when it grew on the tree, there was orange, and the orange is a bit of liquid, bit of solid, and it's all one. It's not two, it's one entity. When you extract the liquid, you take one thing from another, you create a distinction,
You create
a new entity of liquid from solid. But if you take the liquid and you put it immediately into food, the halacha says, it's as if you never really made the liquid important in the first place. You didn't attach a significance to the liquid. And the whole point of dosh is that it has to be comparable to the original case, somewhat comparable, where you take something edible from something less edible. But if you extract the liquid and you don't want the liquid, you don't want the liquid as a liquid, but you want the liquid to go into a solid, then it's as if, says the halacha, you never really extracted liquid from solid. You extracted one part of the orange from a different part of the orange.
Is it comparable to salt in going into food?
In the case of salt going into food, the salt isn't a liquid. You're not, in fact, doing anything in the first place, just putting salt from it. Exactly, it would become comparable to salt into food.
Salt.
In other words, like as much as I can take salt and I can put the salt onto my food,
Salt becomes liquid sometimes.
it doesn't matter.
If you,
We dissolve it.
Salt.
I can take one food and put it on another food. The problem with oranges and lemons and all the things is not that they aren't a food. It's that when you extract the liquid, it's as if you've changed the nature of the orange from being food, one big lump of food, to being a liquid from an inedible food, conceptually. But if you take the liquid out, not for the liquid, but to go into food, then all you've done is taken food from food. And food from food is not comparable anymore to the original classic dosh, which was an edible from an inedible. It's just food from food, edible from edible.
So
and there's no problem with that.
You can squeeze lemon onto your salmon.
Absolutely.
On Shabbat.
Absolutely. Lechatchila, to begin with. I'm not even going to tell you but. I'm not going to say but.
I got the
It's absolutely permitted, halachically. It's absolutely permitted.
Or taking some from of lemon and in the tea. Ik zag.
Oh, 1 second, bro. Wait, that's a
Yeah,
liquid.
another piece.
Let's get there. We'll get there.
That's different. Fine.
We'll get there. It's a that's a liquid. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Als ik een stukje citroen in mijn thee gooi, dan is het wel.
Ja, dat
Ja,
mag
ja,
niet. Je
ja,
mag
ja,
het wel
ja.
knijpen, maar je mag niet.
So far, wait. So far, we've only said it. Let's make it clear.
Een beetje uitpersen.
Voelt zo wel.
We've only said it so far when you take the liquid to food, not to drink.
Zo.
Not to
Maar het
drink.
gaat er ook niet in.
Everything, all food, a salad. It doesn't
Yeah.
even need to be absorbed. It doesn't need to be absorbed into the food. It's got nothing to do with being absorbed. It has to come directly into contact with food, with other food, not with liquid. In other words, you're no longer using the liquid as a liquid. You're just using the liquid as some kind of enhancer of food. So it could be that you squeeze it into something and it dissolves, it absorbs. It could be you squeeze it onto your salad as a salad dressing. You want a lemon salad dressing, you cut up the vegetables, you take a lemon and you go and you squeeze a lemon and it all drips straight onto the salad.
That's allowed?
Absolutely, no problem.
Toch, ik heb het nooit gedaan.
Ja, dat mag wel. Maar zie je dat je citroen zo mag knijpen?
Jaren niets gedaan.
Ja. Ik weet nooit citroen, maar ik weet dat dat mag.
Wat zeg je?
Ik weet dat je mag knijpen, je citroen leeg in je thee. Maar je mag geen partje erin leggen.
As soon as you squeeze the liquid into a food, it's as if the liquid never was a liquid in the first place. It was just orange onto food. That's fine. If you were to take the orange or the lemon and squeeze it into a little cup and then pour that onto food, no good. No good. Why? Because you've used the orange for its liquid, you've gathered up the liquid, and then you've used the liquid for something else.
Yeah.
But because there was an in-between stage, there was a stage when it was
directly.
a liquid, when it was called a liquid, when it was used by nature as a liquid, then it's no good. Only when it goes direct. Some opinions even hold that that's true. There's a discussion in the Rishonim, and the Shulchan Aruch brings this opinion, that they even go so far to say that rule is true. Now, if the liquid comes straight to food, it's fine, even with grapes and olives. Even with grapes and olives, because what's the difference? Even though the liquid of grapes and olives are so important that we said before that when you squeeze the liquid, when you squeeze the grape or the olive for the liquid, you're doing a melacha d'oraisa, the highest form of the forbidden category of dosh. Nonetheless, if you squeeze it directly into food, says the Shulchan Aruch, you're taking olive. You're allowed to eat an olive on Shabbos, right? You're allowed to bite an olive. You're allowed to eat a grape. You're taking olive or grape and you're just making part of the olive and the grape part of another food. And you're not bringing it out as a liquid. You're not expressing it as a liquid. It's only forbidden when it's expressed as a liquid. It's not forbidden when it's expressed to be part of solid food mass. It's not forbidden. That's one opinion in Shulchan Aruch. So in other words, the logic that we just said, the argument, could even be extended all the way to the highest form of dosh, grapes and olives, perhaps. The Shulchan Aruch brings a dissenting opinion. He brings a second opinion who disagrees, who says that this rule that we just said, that mashke habala oichel k'oichel domi, that when liquid comes out straight to food, it's as if it's just food and not liquid. That rule is only true by rabbinical forbidden level of dosh. In other words, oranges, lemons, all the other fruits that are normally squeezed, but it's not true by grapes and olives, because by grapes and olives, the liquid is always important, even when it's squeezed onto fruit. And so there's a discussion. The Mishnah Berurah wants to say people should be stringent and lechatchila to begin with, not squeeze grapes or olives onto food, but there are many opinions, Sfadi opinions certainly, who go with the first opinion of the Shulchan Aruch that says that it's permitted. So that's the theory. The reality is that even grapes and olives, there's an argument to say that you can squeeze it directly onto food. But let's talk about squeezing onto drink now. Let's go to drink. Everything we've said now is only when you take the orange or the lemon and you squeeze it to become food. But when you take an orange and you squeeze it into your tea, then you're making it a liquid. You just want a liquid mixed with other liquids, but you still want the liquid. You want it as a liquid form. And so the argument wouldn't go all the way to say you can squeeze the orange into your drink to be a liquid with other liquids. The argument doesn't stand. With the lemons, there was a big discussion. With lemons, some authorities held, although the Mishnah Berurah doesn't seem to be too keen on it, some authorities were of the opinion that a lemon is different to an orange. Different to an orange. In some ways, a lemon is better, more lenient with lemons. Why? Because some authorities said, at least in the olden days, that lemons were never really squeezed for the liquid at all. What do I mean by that? They were always squeezed for liquid. They were only ever squeezed so that the liquid could be used with something else. In other words, why did the rabbis say that the orange is similar to the grape? And they made it forbidden to squeeze oranges like it was forbidden to squeeze grapes, because they want to say that the orange, the liquid in the orange, is so commonly squeezed for its liquid use to drink that it becomes similar, it looks similar to the grape, and so they made a rabbinical level prohibition to squeeze an orange. But a lemon is different. The Rav Yosef said that in Egypt, he said they were squeezing lemons, and he says whenever they squeezed lemons, he says even though it's true that they filled barrels and barrels and barrels of barrels with lemon juice, but they never really squeezed the lemon to drink the juice on its own. It was always squeezed to be used with.
Why you call it lemonade?
Lemonade, yeah. Nowadays, now we'll get there. There's a change. You're right. There's a change. That's why I say that. I say this as a theory. The lemon might be problematic today. You're absolutely right. In the earlier days, in the Middle Ages, they were discussing lemons, and they were just trying to debate whether lemons are in the same category as oranges or better than oranges. In other words, more lenient. Because on the one hand, you could say it's squeezed. On the other hand, they said, no, it was only ever squeezed. The Rav Yosef says. In Egypt, he says, they were squeezing lemons onto sugar, lemonade. But when did they always squeezed it into something else. It was never squeezed just for itself. Later, commentators said, no, they filled barrels and barrels with lemon juice. Other commentators said, even that they filled, but even then, nonetheless, they filled it with barrels and barrels with juice. But the juice is always used as a kind of like a flavoring of something else. And so really, it's always as if the liquid isn't ever so important on its own. It's as if the liquid is always just an accessory to something else. And we're always trying to see whether the liquid has a kind of its own independent importance in regard to the original fruit it came from. And with the lemon, there was an argument that said that the fruit of the lemon is not so important on its own. It's always used as an addition or a combination with something else. And that might even be true with liquids. However, the Shulchan Aruch says that... Is there a Mishnah Berurah here? If not, no, don't worry.
Is there a Mishnah Berurah here?
Not necessarily.
Ik weet het niet waar je...
That's fine. It's not necessary. It's really not necessary. It's not necessary. But nonetheless, the Shulchan Aruch forbade, the halacha forbids squeezing lemons. That was the final line. Some opinions said that even though lemons are forbidden to squeeze, there may be room to be lenient to squeeze a lemon into liquid, into solid for sure, because even an orange can be squeezed into solid. Into liquid, maybe. The El Rabba wants to suggest such a thing, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have it in front of me. But I don't know, the different places probably maybe have different customs. Usually people are careful to treat lemons in the same way that we treat oranges, and to say that you can only squeeze the lemon onto your food and not into a drink. However, what would be with the case with putting a lemon into the tea, not actually squeezing it, cutting a slice of lemon? You're allowed to cut a lemon. That's no problem. You're allowed to cut any fruit. You can cut a grape, and you put the lemon into the drink. Right now, you're not actually squeezing it with your hands. You are effectively allowing bits of the lemon juice or lemon particles to spread out. No, if it was you're right. It would be bishul if it was in the teapot. If it's in the cup, then there's no bishul in a klisheni.
On the tea, on the leaves of the tea.
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah. You could, in theory, put it on the leaves of the tea and then add the
in the tea bag.
Yeah.
And then...
Yeah, but the problem then you'd have a real problem with bishul though. Because
Well,
if you
when
put it
you
into the
said-
teapot, the lemon juice would be being cooked in the teapot with hot water. It would only work inside a teacup, like the second cliché, the secondary level cup. So lemon,
Dan
some
maakt het nog heel ingewikkelder.
you can get a lemon and you can cut the lemon and put the slice in the tea. That's fine because the halacha says that the liquid that flows freely from a fruit is fine. In other words, what we're talking about until now is squeezing the fruit, squeezing a grape, squeezing an orange. When
Je mag
you,
het toch niet uitpersen dan?
well, you can't press it. You cut it with a
You
knife.
can't.
Well, you can. No, you can.
No, in your
Then you
tea.
put it in your tea. And then you press a bit.
But then you're squeezing.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
squeezing.
Then
So
squeezing.
not
That's
the
not good.
Nee, dat
But
is
you
wel
can
goed,
put it in
daarom.
the tea and leave it there, and
Yeah,
you'll
no,
say, "But wait a minute,
doe je
liquid
dat, ja.
comes off it. The liquid that comes off the lemon or the orange that you didn't squeeze is fine. That's fine. Because in the first place it was only forbidden rabbinically midrabanon to squeeze a lemon or an orange. So the liquid that comes off it is fine. If you didn't squeeze it, as long as you don't squeeze. So you can take a slice of lemon, you can put it in the tea.
Als je
That's
oneindig
no
kleine
problem.
stukjes snijdt.
Sorry.
Yeah. For a mathematician.
Yeah.
When you squeeze it in, when you cut it into such tiny pieces, that's only, let's say, a few molecules of grape.
Yeah.
Then it's not squeezing. Then
It's cutting.
That's cutting. You can cut it.
Yeah, but I'll without going down to a molecular level. Without going to molecular level, when you cut something, when you cut it, you're effectively squeezing a small part of the surface.
Dat mag
Yeah.
niet. Dat mag niet. Maar je mag wel dus de halve citroen nemen en hem uitknijpen
Met de hand,
boven je
met de
teen.
hand.
Dat mag wel.
Ja.
Maar een schijfje
Ja.
mag
And
niet.
what about lemon?
Oké,
What is already
het is
in
eruit
liquid?
wat is.
A lemon that's already liquid before Shabbos.
No, what's already put into liquid. Let's say you have these lemons nowadays, or especially in the Mediterranean. You have complete lemons, and they're preserved in liquid.
Just preserved inside the liquid.
Is that liquid exchange?
Ja.
Is liquid exchange?
Through the peel.
Ja, ik heb van die potten, en er zit de hele citroen in.
And the liquid is exchanged through the peel. What happens? Where's the liquid?
The liquid is out of this.
Yeah, but what happens? What's the effect that
The effect is that it's going into the lemon, and then you squeeze this lemon. You're cutting this lemon into pieces,
and it can
and
go
you put it onto your chicken.
it can go through the peel. It goes
Ja,
through
maar ik denk,
it goes through the peel. It probably does. The peel is porous. A peel has to be porous because
Yeah,
a peel because it has to be porous. It's organic, and it can't. If it wasn't porous, then it wouldn't allow nutrients inside through the peel.
it's poreus, ja.
Very mildly. Probably takes a while, but
Heel lekker die doe je onder het velletje van je kind.
I'll address that in a minute because we're going to talk about the next stage, which is similar to your question, similar but not exactly the same. You're going to ask something?
No. I have only question is what to do if you have een schijfje citroen hebben
Yeah.
en een slice and into the tea
It's allowed.
and then
No.
have to een stampertje.
No.
Squeezing it.
No.
Je mag
hem heel fijn snijden. Je mag hem heel fijn snijden.
Heel dun snijden met een scheermes.
Yeah, you can make a normal slice, normal thin
Yeah.
slices, and you can put it in your tea, and it gives off the flavor.
Een stellimes.
The next segment of Hilchos Dosh is similar to your question. What happens if a person takes a vegetable, let's say, let's talk about a cucumber, a very small cucumber, and he pickles the cucumber in liquid. We call it herk. Puts the cucumber into liquid, and now, after many months, he takes the cucumber out, and some people find that the liquid of the cucumber is very strong because it's brine, it's vinegary, and it makes the cucumber a bit too salty for them, especially the Israeli pickles. You know, the Israeli pickles in the tin are they're like the brine. They're very nice, delicious. Right. You know, I mean, the Israeli pickles in the tins, right? They're different. They're much stronger. They're stronger. They're saltier, whatever. So he takes the pickle and he wants to make it slightly less strong. So he squeezes the pickle and takes the juice out the pickle. Yeah. Now, maybe the alternative. Maybe someone has an Israeli pickle and he really likes the liquid and he wants to dip his bread into the liquid. So he takes the pickle and he squeezes the pickle for the liquid that comes out the pickle. Now, the liquid that comes out the pickle, for sure, there's a little bit of liquid from the cucumber, but squeezing a cucumber should be fine on Shabbos because a cucumber is a third category of food. We said before, cucumbers are not normally harvested for the liquid inside, so there should be no problem with squeezing the cucumber itself. That's fine because it's not normally squeezed. But now you've got liquid inside the cucumber. You'll say, well, what's so special about this liquid in the cucumber? It's not a significant liquid. It didn't even grow in the cucumber. It's not even organic. It's not natural to the cucumber. It's liquid that was absorbed in the cucumber during the pickling, or the equivalent, the same problem with cooking. Let's say I got a carrot or whatever, a courgette, and I cook the courgette, and now it's full of liquid and I squeeze it. I want to make it into a mash, and I squeeze the courgette. Is squeezing the courgette going to be a problem of extracting liquid from solid? So the halacha says that even though the liquid that's now inside the pickle came from the outside and it wasn't originally natural, it wasn't native to the pickle, and so you should say it's not considered one with the pickle. You can't dosh, we said, is when you have an organic product, a natural product, and you take one part from the other, the edible from the inedible. With the pickle, the liquid was water or vinegar or brine, whatever it is, and you just put it in the pickle, and now you want to take it out again. But it's not natural, it's not native to the pickle. Nonetheless, the halacha says that because the liquid originally had an earlier state when it was a liquid, it was an important liquid, it was water, it was brine, it was whatever it is. So now that you want to revitalize, you want to remove the liquid again, it's as if you're doing dosh, midrabanon. It's similar to dosh. So if you have a pickle, if you have a cucumber, you put it in liquid, although the liquid gets absorbed, the liquid that gets absorbed is not native to the cucumber, and therefore you should say, well, it's not really comparable to dosh, because dosh is separating one edible substance from an inedible substance when they grew together. And here the liquid was separate. You put it together. Why can't you separate it again? It was always separate. In the first place, the liquid was separate to the cucumber. The halacha says that because the liquid is important on its own, it was once an independent liquid, and you put it into the cucumber, you cannot squeeze the cucumber for, and these are the important words, for the liquid. The halacha says to squeeze the cucumber for the liquid, in other words, for the use of the liquid, is midrabanon comparable to dosh. But to squeeze the cucumber so that there's no liquid, in other words, for the same action, but with a totally reverse intention. The cucumber is too salty, and so I squeeze the liquid out of the cucumber, that's fine.
Tomatensap maken? Nee, dus echt gebruiken. Tomatensap.
Tomato juice, yeah.
You can't take the tomato.
You smash him.
On Shabbos?
On Shabbos.
And then you dip your bread into it.
Yeah, but there, the tomato, if a tomato is a kind of vegetable or fruit that's not regularly squeezed, let's say it's only a minority of tomato, it's probably only a minority of tomatoes that are used for juice.
Let's leave that.
Maybe no, maybe I don't know. You're right. We could research that. If it would be a minority, then it falls into the third category, which is vegetables or fruit that are not commonly squeezed. In which case, it's fine to squeeze the. Let's see how you categorize.
Yeah.
I think so. I think tomatoes would be fine to squeeze a tomato on Shabbos because the liquid is not commonly used as a liquid. It is used, but not commonly used as a liquid.
No. And now I put it into the vodka.
The tomato.
Bloody Mary.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of vodka going on in your house. There's a lot of alcohol consumption.
Sorry?
You've got your lemon juice, you've got your your esrog vodka and you've got your tomato vodka. And I'm coming round.
If it's a Bloody Mary, you have to drink it until you don't know the difference between.
Or Holland and Bar
Asveros
vodka.
That's what I use it for Pesach.
Ik heb het eens meegemaakt.
So the here we're discussing where the vegetable may have previously been permitted to squeeze, like a cucumber. You can squeeze a cucumber normally because a cucumber isn't normally squeezed, but you put liquid from the outside in, either through cooking or pickling or something like that. Now you can't re-squeeze the cucumber to remove the liquid, but you can squeeze the cucumber if you don't want the liquid, if you want the cucumber. So you have a pickle, if you squeeze the pickle for its juice, because you like the juice, that's no good. If you squeeze the pickle so that there's less juice, so it's less salty, that's fine. In an example, maybe not in Holland, but in other places, was schmaltz herring. Here in Holland, the herring isn't so oily because it's not pickled in oil. But in the Hasidic places, the herring is very, very oily. And sometimes it's too oily. So you'd get your fork, a fork, and you'd squeeze the piece of herring to let some of the oil drip out.
And that is okay?
If you squeeze the herring for the
yourself.
herring,
Yes.
not for the oil, it's fine because you don't want the oil. If you squeeze the herring because you like the oil and you want to dip your bread in the oil, that's not fine. That's no good. And that's where the halacha finishes. That's where the show finishes.
Okay.
And now I don't know anything to do with what to
Do you are 87? Don't change.
Now we are sure you don't do.
No, we said you can squeeze a lemon onto the fish. That's good.
Yeah. One moment. I have looked already at home. I think in March.
Jongens, ik durf het niet meer.
17th of March.
When's Purim?
That's the week before. The Friday before. The 15th is Purim. No, the 14th is Purim. Friday.
Dr. Baruch. He wants to arrange a shiur. He wants to arrange a shiur on 2 days after Purim. Will you be sober?
I don't drink that much.
I'm coming round on Purim. Well,
It's
yeah.
Friday is Purim. Then you have Shabbos and Sunday.
You have a few days to sober up.
Yeah? Okay.
I'm teasing. Yeah. Right. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Let's go. So the 17th of March.
Yes.
Ja, dat is ook met.
Maar los de suiker op.
Ja.
Dan heb je een vloeistof gemaakt.
Ja, de vloeistof gemaakt. Nee, gemaakt. Dat was op.
Good.
Excellent.
Paul, wil jij nog een beetje?
Please do me a favor. Otherwise we get troubles with you.
I had one question in my mind. If you
Okay, for the
lemon on sugar, the sugar dissolves and becomes liquid.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it's enough lemon, on.
Dankjewel.
So it's not no longer it's no longer solid.
It's true, but it's